You're on.
Good morning and welcome to Formula for Wealth. And my guest today is Tony Thomas. Tony is a certified and independent financial advisor. So, Tony, welcome.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for the invite.
Great to have you on here. Now, Tony and I are going to talk about investing, but we're also going to do quite a bit about pensions because it tends to be a bit of a forgotten area with some people. So, Tony, give us a little bit about your background, what you do.
Well, Karen, I'm a chartered financial advisor, I'm an independent financial advisor, and I have been advising clients for over 30 years. And the main sort of areas I've been advising on in a sort of trying to encapsulate everything is wealth management. But that really covers three core areas, and they tend to be retirement and pension planning. They tend to be investment planning, so creating and managing investment portfolios for clients, and also then estate planning, so helping people grow their money and then help them to pass on to the next generation if that's what they want to do in the most tax efficient way.
So always the most tax efficient way.
and it changes actually. It's a strange one where cycles go through, where there's down to obviously the economy, where there's down to legislation. Also, we're seeing it now. Sometimes pensions and retirement will be the main focus. Sometimes it'll be the investment side, and sometimes it'll be the estate planning side. So but it's nice to be able to advise in all those areas and really be able to sort of go down any direction and cover all of these things, because I think what a lot of people don't always realize is that they're all connected to each other. So it's not just one. It's very rare can you just advise on one without having some form of impact on the other. And as a wealth manager, obviously, I'm able to give advice on all of those areas. So it's nicely in a nice, neat package, shall we say.
No, I read the other day, and I think is it the second time you've got the Financial Times award, or?
Yes, this hasn't been running for long, but I've been voted 2 years in a row for one of the top independent financial advisors in the UK. It was a guide carried out by the Financial Times, so it's a nice honour. And the most important from my point of view is it's voted by clients. So my clients were kind enough to obviously give up their time and vote online. And as a result of that, I'm in the list for the second year running. So
that's fantastic. It's a real fantastic honour, that.
Yeah, it means more to me than probably achieving charter, which was a big thing at one stage, being the first charter advisor in the UK. But yeah, I think in terms of all the accolades I've had, that's probably the one that means the most to me, because that's what matters. Yeah. Is helping my clients, and obviously they've shown obviously that they appreciate my work by voting for me. So
no, that's fantastic. Now, you are an investor yourself.
I am.
You invest in, actually, what I teach, 4 categories. You're in all 4 categories, I think, aren't you?
I am. I'm in your 4 pillars, which is business, which is obviously my main trade, should we say.
Yeah.
So my financial planning practice. I'm also in shares, so I trade shares myself, but also have them professionally managed as well. So, and I've got some properties, some buy-to-lets, and I'd also like to buy bullion.
Brilliant.
Especially the collections. That's been my favourites.
And they've probably gone up quite a bit in value.
They have, yes.
Buying up at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
How did you get started in property?
Gosh, I got started in property back in 2004. And I suppose, like a lot of people, it seemed to be a time where the property prices were rocketing, and it seemed to be a very easy time to be able to make money buying property, because the prices were just going up and going up and going up. And so I attended quite a few seminars at the time. And as a result of that, I thought, why not? Let's use some of my spare time that I had and some money, obviously, that was being generated from the business, and put that into property. So as a result of that, I've got many, and I haven't really expanded it since then, but I've got 5 buy-to-lets. I bought those over a period of 2 years. So, and I still have them actually. So
That's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, it's a source of income coming in.
Well, yeah. But the intention for me really was that, again, because of the nature of what I do, it was just going to be another pot of money for when I retire. So that obviously the mortgage would be paid off by then, and it would be something I could have coming in addition to anything else. So it's obviously what I do from an investment point of view is make sure everything is diversified. So there's no reliance on one stream of income or another, and obviously property being one of those core pillars.
Yeah, because I teach 8 types of income coming in, and rental income is one of the ones that are there, and it's also one of the key ones to ensure that you, like you said, you've got something for the future, but you've also got a regular income coming in when you need
Correct.
it. Yeah.
So
Shares. You said you're in shares?
Shares, yes.
Forget the managed ones. How do you
forget the
manage?
managed ones. Yeah, that's not. In terms of shares, I have quite obviously. I'm quite passionate about the investment sides, and that's probably my favourite out of all the ones I do. And I like to analyse obviously the shares in the market and pick what I believe is going to be obviously good potential going forward. And there's many different ways you can do this. Lots of the trading platforms will have some form of research facilities on there. But the key for me really is to look at obviously a number of indicators on there, so you can quite comfortably predict what they are likely to be going forward with the track records, and obviously maybe the industry and the sectors that they're in, obviously past earnings and all the indicators that you know about. As an example, over my portfolio, I won't tell you what the value is, but in terms of performance over the last 2 years, since I've done this more in earnest, should we say, I'm returning around about 48% on average a year. So,
which is good.
Something's working.
So you studied Warren Buffett's ideas?
I've studied them all over the years, whether it's Warren Buffett, whether it's been obviously psychology with Brian Tracy and all those. So I'm very much been into self-development over the years. Warren is obviously is the man, full stop. So it's obviously his style is tried and tested, and so yeah, it's looking at buying low value stocks. So you've got an edge straight away, and looking obviously then for the potential for those to grow. I don't necessarily sort of trade every single day because that's not the way I like to trade. It's more looking at longer term and adjust them going forward. And I don't hold that many shares. I mean, I probably won't hold more than 10 at any one time. But it suits my sort of lifestyle and the time I have available to be able to do it. So, but it's always a nice feeling to look at the shares and see how well they're doing, in spite of obviously what's going on in the world at the moment.
It's interesting because I have a few core shares that I invest in the UK, and when coronavirus struck, the share market just went like that.
Yeah.
And those shares have come back up to the level they were at. They're just plodding along nicely. They're a dividend payer. They're just plodding along nicely. And I think when you've got a good company like that, a good investment strategy, then yeah, it may react to the market, but it will always come back to where it was before.
I think it's the key. I think with any portfolio, whether it's obviously one you do yourself or whether it's a professional one, you've got to have that spine of companies in there that are sound, solid companies, and you know that they will always be there. Yes, they can be affected like anything else, but they are resilient to these types of events. And so from that point of view, they've always got to be in there. But it's nice to have one or two, should we say, outsiders that can also give you even greater potential. But you've got to limit, I think, those to a certain amount, so you don't potentially either put yourself at risk or out of kilt in terms of obviously the investments itself, because you know.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's always nice to see if you can pick a winner now and again. So.
They're what I call my gamble shares.
Well, again, it is that's part of the fun, Karen.
It is.
Let's be honest. It's
And like you said, I have my core shares, just
yeah.
like you. 80% of my money goes into my core
Yeah.
shares. 10% goes into my gamble shares.
Yeah.
And the other 10% is held in cash in case something happens
Correct.
in the market, and I've then got cash ready to go in and take advantage of it. So yeah, the gamble ones they're nice when they work, not so nice when they falter.
Yeah, but that's still part of a learning process as well. So I think with shares or anything of this nature, any of these sort of different options, investment options, is that it's all about gaining experience and learning from it. But you've got to have some fun along the way when you're doing this. I mean, it's interesting to pick up on the point that you said about some of the shares that come back, or the better shares, we say, that have come back to the values. I think the markets have been more resilient than what people have realised. As a general average, we say, the markets have come back to similar levels to what they were 12 months ago. So whereas the markets obviously depends what risk factors you were taking, but the markets certainly dropped, at the, I was going to say the peak is probably the depths of pandemic in terms of the share prices, but they dropped, 30% and more. Depending on the risk factors, but now most of them are back either sort of level or within 5%, 10 at the outside, depending on risk, than what they were before. So that's a massive improvement to where we were at the end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah. So in the 4 categories that we talk about, you've got your business. We've just talked about your shares that you've got, and your property. So the other category we deal with is bullion.
Correct.
So, and I know you're not only an investor in bullion, but also a collector.
I'm a collector, yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, in terms of the bullion side of investments, then I've always been interested in bullion, but not really knew how to get into it. And when I joined, obviously, the £2.73 club, as you know, as you've enticed me in, then...
don't do things like that.
Well, I approached you, and obviously it was at the point in my life where I think I wanted to get into other things and other areas, and obviously you were... 2.73 club was, a good fit for me at that particular time. So in terms of the bullion side, what attracted to me was that it was an easy way of buying bullion, and like any child, you like to collect things, whether it's cards or anything like that. So when I saw the opportunity to buy collections of coins in particular, then it seemed to be ticking a lot of boxes in terms of nice collections, which I've seen mine have gone up massively without anyway. The collections that tend to be worth more money if you have the right collection, not just obviously this is the bullion value. So I found that a really enjoyable experience.
Well, looking at the
easier way. Yeah, I've got them on my bedside cabinet, and I've got them in a display unit. And every morning, when I get up in the morning, it's the first thing I look at when I get out of bed. And it makes me smile every time I look at them.
Oh, that's good. I know with the coin collections, you know, I'm into collecting as well, and I like the Marvel characters
Correct,
and
yeah.
the Star Wars, and I've got some Egyptian ones, relic ones, and things like that. And it is incredible how much they have gone up. I know with the Marvel ones, I booked Captain America, and I bought it about 2 or 3 days before the final movie, Endgame, was released.
Yeah,
And as soon as that was released, the coin went up £10.
it is, right, okay.
You know, and I made a mistake. I didn't get Spider-Man because I think if I'd got that one after what happened, I mean, that one shot up to over £100. So,
I've got Spider-Man.
oh, you got that one, did you?
Yeah,
So you did all right
I
on
did, yeah.
that. Yeah. No, it's interesting because there's so much and so much different ways of investing in there. Do you do anything with electronic traded funds in gold?
I don't at the moment. That is one of my next asset classes in terms of my portfolios. So it's something that I will be doing. I mean, I used to do forex. I used to trade daily. I did that for about I did it for 7 years, but I did it more or less full time for at least one of those years.
Mm.
So I used to trade a lot of gold and silver in particular during that period. So I probably know a little bit more than most in terms of how to trade them. However, it's not something I've been doing actively at this moment in time, but it's on my agenda, one of my long list of things to do. So.
That's the thing. When you're investing, when you're in the investment world, there is always a list of different types of investments that you want to get into. You're ready to look at something else. And you know, I'm watching a lot on oil at the moment, and I'm really fascinated with the interconnection in the oil categories. So it's always there's something new, something else you can learn because there's so many different products out there.
But I think that's part of the beauty of the 2073 Club is that for uh, non-investors, should we say, it opens up the horizons in terms of what is out there, what's possible. And once you start on that journey, then you will automatically see many opportunities that you've never seen before,
Mm.
and you're open to new opportunities. What you tend to do is gravitate to the ones that appeal to you most, and hopefully the ones that you're better at. But you've got to start somewhere, and that is where the 2073 Club has been great for that purpose. And I'm sure how many people will come out after being in the 2073 Club as millionaires is also what the intention is. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
already got
and we're
some
getting
stories of those
there.
already,
We
yeah.
got some good ones starting to come through. So yeah, we're getting there. Um, One of the avenues that we touch on is pensions, and that's obviously your specialty. And I know that you've worked with me at seminars and discussed pensions. What would you like to say to people about the pensions?
As far as pensions are concerned, is that a lot of people can be a little bit skeptic with regards to pensions. For me, a pension is just another investment with a tax wrapper around it. But from an investment point of view, it's one of the most, if not the most tax efficient investment vehicles you can do. Because anything you put into there, you're going to get tax relief at whatever your marginal rate is. So I'm not sure how many investments will go up by 20% if you're a basic rate taxpayer or 40% if you're a high rate taxpayer instantly. So that in itself obviously is a good attraction. I think there's a danger of being too reliant on other forms of investments, whether that's property, whether that's shares, whatever it is. So this is all about an overall package. So, and I think a pension should be one of those key elements to anybody's financial planning and basically the overall well-being. Because if you don't have any money, certainly when you come to retire, then life can be pretty miserable. in retirement.
Hmm.
The one thing which I think is great from a pension point of view, if you're in business, it's a business expense. So why not use your business to fund for your pension? Effectively, you were setting up an employer of your own in the future for one you don't have to go into work for.
Exactly. And that's a way that I like to think about it, is with not just with pensions, but with any investment,
Yes.
is that you are, someone once said to me that you think of it as every penny is an employee for you,
Correct.
and you put them to work. And that is really the easiest way to look at investing, as you want every penny to work. But back to the pensions, I know that at some of the seminars we've been at, one of the guys that was there, financial Rob Orlow, who
Finance.
now Rob always talks about how he had his business, he set up his pension, he pays rent on his office, but his pension owns his office. Can you explain that to
Yeah, of course.
viewers?
As far as pensions are very versatile in terms of how you use them. For the majority of people, they will just choose funds within the pension, so investment funds. For many other people, especially for business people, and property people, then there's another way that you can use pensions, and that is effectively to use your pension fund to buy property. It has to be commercial property, so it can't be buy-to-lets. But in the example that you give, then obviously if you're in business and you have a premises that you work out of, then this is a way of using the money that you've got in your pension pot to be able to buy that premises. The business then in itself pays rent effectively to the pension, building up the pension pot. So again, your business is paying and obviously building you a pension. It's one of the most tax efficient ways of doing that. And when that business person is ready to retire, then he has a number of options. Either he sells the property and obviously liquidize it and the cash comes into the pension pots, or he can continue to rent out to somebody else and they will continue to pay the rent, but again, building up either the pension pot or it's paid out to him as income. So there's lots of different ways you can use pensions, which is great for business people and property investors. So if it's not your own premises, but you want to do some form of development, development is allowed, obviously depending on what type, that you can do through your pension as well. But one of the difficulties you've got is you've got to get the monies into the pension pot in the first place. So this is where probably the likes of me as a pension specialist has to do that for people, because there are certain sort of criteria and restrictions on what individuals can do themselves. So you have to seek advice to be able to do that. But it's one of probably the biggest sort of part of my business at the moment is advising people on pensions. And that is just one of the examples that we do. But you can either set up a SIP, self-invested personal pension, or a SAS, small self-administered scheme. Slightly different from the two. The SAS you can even borrow monies off up to 50%. So there's many reasons to use pensions when you're in business or if you want to buy commercial property. And for me, it's one of the best forms of investments you can do for whatever reasons you want to use it for. And fits in nicely with your other pillars. So
it's like you said, there's certain advice you need because it is a bit of a minefield, and you need someone who is able to work around that and understand the connotations of doing certain things within the pension. But pensions are just really, they've become so flexible now.
The one thing people may not realize, and these are where pension freedoms, new legislation came in back in 2015. So effectively, it allows people to more or less do whatever they want to with their pensions, obviously
Except
within
spend
limits.
it.
Within limits. The regulator doesn't necessarily like people to have those options, but they are there. And but one of the issues that people don't always realise is that whatever how much is in the pension pot after their days, should we say, can be passed on to their family, their children, next generation, whoever they want to leave it to. That wasn't the case up until 2015. So you're not just saving that money for you, that money could be passed on to your family as well. So it's much more flexible and many more benefits than what they used to have.
One of the problems I've seen in the market, and it's really how I got into the coaching that we do, is that the government have deregulated investing. They've made it more flexible. They've put more responsibility on people to provide for themselves.
Yeah.
But they haven't provided the education to be able to do it. And that's obviously something you come across, I would say, quite a lot.
I come across it virtually every time I'm meeting a client. I think, I've adapted the way I advise people is that I would say 3/4 of what I do is educating people in terms of financial awareness and making sure that they fully understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and the benefits of doing these things. It's not just transactional, which sometimes is labelled at advisors. This is very much a coaching or a planning role as much as the end solution, if you like.
Yeah.
I think that is, maybe that represents some of the obviously the votes I have from my clients, but it's one thing that the modern advisors should be doing. And I think as far as the UK is concerned, there is a lack of financial education, full stop.
Yeah. And one of the things I found that when that legislation came in, it meant that you had to have money to go and see someone.
Correct.
And that left a big gap for the people who to them, they have a lot of money. So if they've got 1,000, it's a lot of money to them, but there wasn't someone who could help them or advise them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think, and we've had this conversation before, a financial advisor has traditionally only been able to advise individuals when they have X amount of money to invest. Yeah. Because it's not commercially viable for an advisor to be able to do it if somebody has no money to invest. So there is a gap there in terms of people who are aspiring and obviously to gain wealth, but they're starting from a lower level or from scratch in many of the cases. So I think this is where obviously the £2.73 Club comes into play, where you are starting people off, helping them, educating them to be able to build their wealth through the various investment principles that you teach.
Now, the way I look at it is we get people ready to be able to go to people like you to get the advice that they need. But I was just, rather than trying to pump up the £2.73 Club, what I was trying to get at is the government have brought all this stuff in, but it's the people that needed it the most have actually got switched off.
Yes.
And it's a shame.
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, well, you know this anyway. I'm trying to think what the stats are off the top of my head, but I think in the UK, and I think this is represented in the States as well, but I think there's something like 90 or 80% anyway of people have got less than 5,000 or more than £5,000 in savings. The average pension pot, I think, is around is not a lot more than £30,000. So there is I feel there's an issue that is going to be building up because obviously life and work is no longer consistent. People have many different jobs throughout their working life, and should we say the golden pensions of whether it's local authority, whether it's certainly the final salary type schemes, they are quickly becoming a thing of the past. So that they are not automatically going to have those. So people need to be able to create and build wealth in other ways. Otherwise, they are going to struggle later on in life, in particular, or work longer, which is we know is happening anyway. And that's great if you want to, but that's the question you have to rather than you want to.
I know. Well, I retired at 43 and I was bored within a couple of months. I'm 60 now. I had to go back and start doing things. So don't aim to retire too young. It is boring.
But I think if you love what you do, then why would you retire? You give the example of Warren Buffett. How old is Warren? He's in his mid-80s.
Yeah.
He has no intention of retiring. And obviously his sort of mantra is that every day is for him is about learning something new.
Yeah. And actually, I've just been doing some research on some of his stuff, and I came across a story which, as you know, any company that he invests in, he goes in with preference shares, and he really supports. He buys quite a chunk of the company, and he really supports the company. And he's in a big way in Coca-Cola, so you see him always walking around with Coke, and whenever you watch interviews with him, he's always got a Coke machine behind him. So he's a walking brand for the companies that he invests in. But I read a story the other day that said his wife puts some money, gives him a certain amount of money each day. And it'll be £2 something or £3 something. And there's 3 different amounts of money that she gives him. And he goes to McDonald's for breakfast in the morning, and depending on how much she's given him, that tells him what he's having for breakfast. And I thought, for someone who's like the 3rd or 4th richest man in the world, that his wife says, here's the pennies and you got to go shop for your breakfast.
I think it's quite interesting. You've got extremes, haven't you, with this? But I think what I've learned over the years dealing with people with lots of money is that it's not the money itself, and often they don't spend a great deal. But what he does do, he gives them choices and the freedom to live whatever life they want to live. So there's no worries about paying the bills, paying the mortgage, whatever it might be. They know when they get up every day, they can do whatever they want to that day. And I think that's what money does. It's not necessarily about the money itself.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, you push, we push. It's the lifestyle. You've got to know what lifestyle you want.
Yeah.
And it's all about getting that dream lifestyle that you want.
Yeah, and everybody's different. So,
Tony's dream lifestyle, where do you go from now?
Where do I go from here? Well, I've got lots of projects on the go at the moment. So I am continuing to obviously build my business, which is my main thrust at the moment. So, and I've got a few projects on the go. So I'm just about finishing up my first book.
Excellent.
And that's that was prompted by obviously our discussions at one stage.
Yeah.
I'm increasing my social media awareness, as you may be sort of aware. But I've got my YouTube channel up and running. I'll be starting my podcast in September.
Brilliant.
And I'm also going to be trying to do more of this online as well. So giving more advice online. I think that's one of the focuses I want to do is, at this moment, as an advisor and a regulated advisor, we can only really advise people one-on-one. So you're limited in terms of what you're able to do. So one of my projects I'm on the go, and probably my main one, is to create some form of structure that I can do this more online, not necessarily just purely to one-to-one, but more on a group basis as well. So that you'll see how that develops going forward. But in the main, it's a question of trying to have a balance in life. I think well, I've always been a workaholic, and I think lockdown has shown me is that has to change. And I've got to get that balance back. So it's trying to do all the things I want to do, help more people, because I love doing what I do and obviously helping other people. But also I'm conscious that I need to at least have more of a balance, because I want to do this a long time. I need to sometimes rein back a little bit. Otherwise I'll burn myself out. So it's so that's the challenge I got. But I like things like, I like being fit, keeping fit. Mountain biking is one of my passions, my main one. And there's nothing better for me than to be up on top of the mountains on my bike and being one with nature, should we say. So it ticks all the boxes.
You've got to
De-stresses.
have some way of switching off.
Yeah.
Because I know, like you say, workaholic, and I think I'm probably put myself in that category. And you do have to have
Yes.
a way of switching off. And mountain biking, if that's your way, then that's what you do, and you get out and you do it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So Tony, if people want to get in contact with you, how do they reach you?
Many different ways. They can get in touch with me just by putting my name into search, Google search, and they'll find me. But you can contact me via my website. My website is ttwealth.co.uk. They can contact me by telephone. My mobile number is 075-855-92494. They can contact me via LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on most things.
And if anybody's in the 273 Club, just reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with Tony, because he does advise our clients within the 273 Club. So, yeah, if you're there, just let us know and we'll put you in contact. So just before we go, I'm going to ask about your book.
All right, okay. My book is going to be just a start. I've had quite an interesting and challenging career and a few battles. And it started off as being probably more of a sort of memento to the family, just for them to realize, obviously, what the things I've gone through during my working life in particular. So it does that, but it reminds me of why I keep doing what I'm doing. And it's all about the clients. And for me, it's about making sure that the people that I look after has a service that I think that they deserve, and better perhaps than some of the larger corporates I've been working for. These are not just sort of, should we say, a profit center. They are real people with real lives. I want to help them do that. So that's what my book is about. But going forwards, I shall be doing more, should we say, help guides, tips, etc., how to do certain things. So it should give me a flavour for doing that, and I've enjoyed the process. At the start, I found the start quite hard, just getting going. But once I was into my stride, then I've really enjoyed it. So it's so I look forward to doing some more after this one.
So when do we get the book released?
It's likely to be in either September or October. But October definitely the latest. So it's with the editors now to run through, and then obviously then what I have to do is pick my covers and things like that.
Yeah.
And then publish it. So I think realistically probably will be October.
Out in time for the Christmas market.
That's
and
the intention.
Yes. Resolutions that everyone's putting together.
Yes.
Good timing. Good timing. So Tony, I would love to thank you for being on here today. And just a reminder to everyone, if you're in the 273 Club, then please contact us and we will put you in contact with Tony. Otherwise, Tony has given us some links. I will put them in the video below so that you can just click on the links and get in contact with him. So Tony, thank you very much for those wonderful words of wisdom.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for the invite. I've really enjoyed it. So. And good luck with everything that you're doing. So.
Thank you.